We are live.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. What night is it? Night 9?
It is night 9.
Night 9! Yay!
Yeah, we're halfway through Zappadan after tonight. We picked a good one. Hello.
Hi, Aaron.
All right, tonight, Chunga's Revenge.
As promised.
October 1970. This is a great one. This is an album that catches Frank in transition.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's a little bit of the past, a little bit of the present, and some signs of things to come with the future. Oh, good. Yeah, this is one of my top 10 as well. We just got a comment, all caps, OMG, I love this record. Me too. So, where to start with this one?
Oh, man. Such a good album. I really love this one. I forgot how much I loved this one.
Dive right into the cover here.
Yeah.
All right, so this is less of a mystery than it used to be, but the eternal debate about this cover was yawn or rage. It is yawn. A gypsy mutant industrial vacuum cleaner dances about a mysterious nighttime campfire. Festoons, period. Sentence fragment.
Yeah.
Dozens of imported castanets, clutched by the horrible suction of its heavy-duty hose, waving with marginal erotic abandon in the midnight autumn air. And that is the musical depiction of what is seen here with this Roma caravan, the vacuum cleaner, the eternally smoldering Winston smoker behind the control booth.
Yeah.
You can guess who that is. Now, Chunga is the industrial vacuum cleaner.
Right.
We will see this critter again in 200 Motels.
Yes.
So this sets the scene for what would come with 200 Motels with the arrival of Flo and Eddie. We have some lyrical themes that are hints towards the future. And, oh man, this is such a cool album.
It's a really good
album. Lots
of
different stuff going on here. Let's get started with Transylvania Boogie. This is a monster guitar track. Oh, it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's got this weird deserty Middle Eastern vibe to it. Great drumming by Ainsley Dunbar in that first part.
Yeah. He's an awesome drummer. And his drumming, I think, is one of the biggest stars, I would say, of this album.
For sure.
Just throughout the whole record.
So as a drummer, Ainsley Dunbar is sort of in the school of Ginger Baker, Keith Moon, more from the world of jazz, coming into the rock world, less of a blues drummer, but he does bring a nice, heavy finesse to his playing, which we didn't quite get with the R&B sound of Jimmy Carl Black and Art Tripp.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Ainsley Dunbar is a dynamic player, and it's great to have that sound in the drums here.
Yeah, this is a great jam, as there are a bunch of great jams on the album, but the music's really meandering, but in a positive way.
Yes.
It's not aimless, it's got direction, and the guitar is incredible.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
And I really just love the vibe on this particular track.
It's a really good one.
Now the band on it is the band that was known as the Hot Rats Band. This is one of the few tracks they recorded in the studio. Frank Zappa, Ian Underwood, Max Bennett on bass, and Ainsley Dunbar on drums.
That's pretty cool.
Right, so they only did a couple of shows. So there are some holdovers from Hot Rats. We'll encounter one in a minute, but first, Road Ladies.
I like Road Ladies.
The second track on the album.
I love blues music, and this is a blues song. And I love that he included like a classic blues song with the like musical motif that you hear in classic blues. I just love that he brought that into this album.
Mm-hmm.
And that he did it talking about
groupies.
Groupies, yeah. I don't know. I almost called them roadies. I'm like, no, it's groupies.
Yeah. The roadies serve a very different purpose. I know.
Yes.
And listen, if you've seen a roadie, you don't want to get the two confused.
No, definitely not.
A groupie's not going to change your strings.
No.
And a roadie's not going to SUD.
Oh boy. But just
He was all about the roadies or the group.
Now we're confused.
He was all about the groupies, and this is the first time we really hear it.
Right.
Motherly Love on Freak Out aside.
Mm-hmm.
It's here on Road Ladies. It's about rock star life. A popular theme for Zappa, Ray Davies as well, life on the road.
Yeah.
And it was that life on the road that went on to inspire 200 Motels.
Yep.
We got another quip there. Oh, I don't know if he was about the roadies. Phil Kaufman. It's a babe. All right, so next we have 20 Small Cigars, an outtake from the Hot Rats album. And again, do we have more to say about Road Ladies?
No, I think that's good track, great blues
killer
track.
Drumming. Should we introduce Flo and Eddie?
We can.
They're the singers here.
They are.
All right, so we have Flo and Eddie, Mark Volman and Howard Kalin, lead singers from a little pop ensemble called the Turtles. Known for Happy Together, G. Eleanor, I Think You're Swell. Some of their songs are better than others. Happy Together is phenomenal.
Super, super good. I love that song. It's
She'd Rather Be With Me is a good one too.
Yeah.
So Frank recruited these dudes just after their band broke up. They were contractually obligated to not perform under their birth names. Such was the contract that was stuck under their teenage noses in 1965. There's a reason Mark Volman now is a professor of music business classes at Belmont University, and it's mostly to teach young emergent musicians how to not get fucked over by the blood-sucking leeches who run the music industry. Pardon my French. Frank was on top of it, though, and helped these guys out. They became the new singers in the new reformed lineup of the Mothers. Don Preston's not around for this, but he does come back at some point. So two vocalists, they're quite a pair. There's something to look at. Definitely. Mark Volman had this big bush of hair, and then Howard Kalin was prematurely gray and had this big beard.
Yeah. I think they're a positive addition to the group.
I like them when I like them.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. And I really like them here on this album.
Fair enough.
20 Small Cigars.
This is the weakest track on the album, in my opinion.
Why is that?
It just is the most forgettable. Nothing in particular. Like, it doesn't do anything wrong. It's just not my favorite.
One thing I like about it is it showcases one of Frank's musical, what would you call it, signatures. And that's having a duplicate melody played by two different instruments at the same time. And that's what drives this song to the point that it creates this sound where it's like you're hearing only one instrument. And it's a guitar and a harpsichord. And that together creates this really neat tone, which gives you the lead melody on the song. I like it.
That's a cool practice. And I do have to give credit where credit's due. And I think that practice definitely deserves to be called out. So I think that's neat. I know he did that on a bunch of other tracks, and I think maybe he did it a little bit more memorably.
He did it on, he really first started to do it on Uncle Meat. And then here, he's doing it in a very different setting with a much smaller ensemble.
Yeah.
And I think the results sound very different than what you would hear on Uncle Meat. I think he would go on to do this little trick more times with greater success, for sure. But here it is here, and I think it's very tight. I first heard that before I heard the album on the Son of Cheap Thrills compilation, which was like $5. Great way to get exposed to some of the low-budget Zappa albums. After that, we have what closes out side A. This is a live track called the Nancy and Mary Music, which itself, I think, came from a performance of King Kong. Oh, we got more. Oh, yeah, Battle of the Bands, the concept album. I've heard good things about the Battle of the Bands concept album by the Turtles. I know of it. But I haven't heard it. What I know is that each track, so it's a concept album, Battle of the Bands. Each track is supposed to be a different band playing in a different style. Yeah. But every song is the Turtles.
Can I take one brief minute to plug this sparkling water seasonal?
Tonight's episode of Zappadan is brought to you by Trader Joe's.
We actually don't have any sponsors or anything like that.
Actually, yeah. So, hey, Trader Joe's.
So, I drink a lot of fizzy water. God, this is so nerdy.
I'll hold it up.
I drink a lot of fizzy water, and this seasonal.
Watch me now. I'm gonna eat the label.
They had this seasonal at Trader Joe's, and it's winter sangria, and I fully encourage. I fully encourage that you drink it because it's really tasty.
Strictly commercial. Okay. Wow, we're not even, we're 9 episodes into Zappadan, and we're already wanting to sell out to Trader Joe's.
I know. Frank would be pissed. All right. Anyway, we can keep on going. I love this track.
The Nancy and Mary music.
Now, I love this one.
On the CD, it doesn't include this on the label. The LP divides it up into parts, and it breaks the track up into movements. You get this bitchin' drum solo from Ainsley, and then a pretty sweet middle part with a bluesy guitar solo, some audience chanting. You know, Frank was really good at that. He would conduct the band and get the audience to do the chants as well. And then it builds up. You get this monster sax solo from Ian Underwood. Oh, he's so good. Yeah. He's the other MVP on this album.
I definitely agree with that.
He's got some steam on him still from Hot Rats for sure.
Absolutely. I love the drum solo on this one. I think it's really good. I like that it's simple, but it still stands out really, really dramatically. He's an amazing drummer. But this was one of my favorite tracks in the album.
Mm-hmm. And then that last little bit, you get George Duke cooking away on the keys, and then credited with vocal drum imitations, also known as scat singing, beatboxing in 1970. It's a great way to end the side.
I agree.
And then he gets everyone to chant with it. That's so cool. Hearing that at an early age made me not afraid to vocalize like that teaching drums.
Heck yeah.
Like, it's much easier to teach a rhythm that way.
Well, that's the only way to learn the drums, is you have to have somebody doing the beat right next to you, but orally.
Right. Side B, going into Tell Me You Love Me.
I like this one.
So this is the first of 2 tracks that are a little more on the raunchy side. Raunchy for 1970.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Tell Me You Love Me?
I like this one. I like that it's a little bit more rockin'. I appreciate that. That is definitely more of like, there's the part where he's not screaming, but he's like.
They go up into the falsetto range.
Yeah, so I really like that. I think this one has like a really good drive behind it. It moves well.
Mm-hmm. This is a fun one to drum on. It's got an interesting beat. It's
yeah. There you go with the.
See, there I go again.
I like this one.
It's nice. It's got some tasty guitar on it.
Mm-hmm.
18 years later, on the 1988 tour, he would redo this song with lyrics about Michael Jackson called Why Don't You Like Me? Yeah. We'll have a party. Get me a Pepsi. Janet is Michael.
Oh my God, I remember that
Janet.
one.
I'm so confused now. Who is Diana?
Who is Diana?
How quickly we forgot that man was also an alleged pedophile.
I'm going to re-listen to that song.
Would you go all the way for the USA? That's the question of the night.
No, is the answer to the question.
Yeah, me neither.
But I like the song.
Yeah. America was never great. This is a catchy tune, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's about monster movies. We get a wonderful Zappa idea. The monster movie. It's a date. Clutching at your hand. Wait 10 seconds. It's funny. It's catchy.
I love the singing that's happening tonight.
It's a little on the goofy side.
It's really good.
The monster came out. People all around you screaming at the monster.
Mm-hmm.
So much double entendre. And then it becomes the whole like mock patriotic. Would you go all the way for the USO, the United Service Organization?
Right.
The guys entertaining the troops, or the gals entertaining the troops.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of complicated layers there.
Yeah.
Are they asking the woman how far would they go for the USO? Lift up your dress if the answer is no.
Yeah.
What's your take on this track?
I love the song.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's super funny. I think it's really good tongue-in-cheek and it's almost satirical.
Very.
Yeah.
It's a mock love song.
It is a mock love song almost.
Again, you get Frank making fun of dumb men.
Yeah.
One of his favorite things to do.
Yeah.
The other thing about this song oh yes, and it mentions consent.
That's right.
Right. So this actually was meant to be in the shooting script for 200 Motels, but they didn't quite get around to doing it. That happens when you shoot a film with a shooting script of 300 pages. Yeah. 200 Motels was probably, if Frank had had his druthers, it would have been a 4-hour film.
Yeah. God, so long.
And by film, I mean video.
Yeah.
It's got some cool visual effects. We'll talk about 200 Motels in a minute. The title track comes after Would You Go All the Way.
So good.
This one is cool.
His title tracks are all really solid.
Not a bad one among
Not a bad one among them.
I agree.
But seriously, I mean, every album that we've done for Zappadan this year, the title track is just like such a banger.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This one's no exception.
For sure.
Yeah.
This is another iconic jam tune, especially live. There are quite a few bootlegs. Not that I would have any, because bootlegs are bad and you shouldn't have bootlegs.
They're terrible.
But Buffalo, which is a legal release,
which is really good, and you should get it. It
opens with Chunga's Revenge, and that was an opener on quite a few of his tours. From the engineer's standpoint, it is the perfect way to do a sound check live on stage.
Yep.
You get the bass coming in, then the drums, then Frank, then the horns. In 1970, this recording of it features Ian Underwood on the saxophone. For years, I thought the saxophone solo was a guitar, as the saxophone was being run through
a wah-wah pedal. I thought the same thing, too.
Yeah. It's all good. Frank was one of the first guitar players in the rock world to really show off the wah-wah. He loved the effect you get from rocking the pedal back and forth, but one thing he said in an interview was he really enjoyed tinkering with all the different angles at which you could have the pedal because of the effect it creates on the sound wave.
That's so cool. You're such a master craftsman.
For sure. Big fan of the stomp boxes, even early on.
Neat.
Then we segue into The Clap,
which is a super cool song. I do love the percussion on that one, and I love that the drums, like the drum kit, is really simple, and then you have kind of all this other percussion flitting in and out, and it fills out the picture.
And it's a lot of polyrhythms, a lot of crazy shit.
It's completely all over the place, but it works. It's like the Moose Munch of songs.
Have not listened to Eddie Harris.
But we will. Thank you.
Yes.
We love music recommendations.
Tell us more.
Yes. So
please.
If you ever want to send us any, please do. We will actually listen.
So speaking of recommendations, real quick, one of my residents that I work in a low-income property. One of my residents recommended Glass Harp from 1970, their self-titled debut. He loves that I'm into classic rock, and it's one of his from back in the day. And he told me to check it out. He loves that I'm a drummer.
We'll have to check that out.
I think he thinks I'm some sort of rock star.
Aww,
it's adorable.
That's cute.
The guy with the Kurt. He's adorable.
Nice.
Got some bitchin' drums on the clap, then a little drum roll, and it segues into this little trombone intro by George Duke. George Duke, who had been brought in not as a keyboardist, but as a trombonist.
Right.
He even said to Frank, I don't play the piano. At his audition, and he said, well, you do now.
That's pretty amazing. Because he's one of, if not my favorite person who ever played with Frank.
Yeah. Duke is one of my favorites. Man, you got me thinking. Duke, Ike.
Yeah.
Let's save this for the last night.
We should.
Let's save this for the last. This is
Duke and Ike are in my top 5 too, by the way. So
we got more comments. Cool.
Aaron, never shut up.
Yeah. Electric sax. Name checked by the Beastie Boys. Bitchin'. That's super cool. I'm a big sucker for the electric violin that Frank uses on a lot of his jazz recordings from here. Like Ponte does it. And then Sugarcane Harris.
Mm-hmm.
So Rudy wants to buy you a drink.
Okay, I love the song
Opens
so
with the trombone.
much. Yes, I love the song so much. It's hilarious. I love that it's about unions.
So speaking from the deep left, being slightly to the right of Che Guevara, as we both are, we do both as workers have a complicated relationship with unions. And I support them when they're good. When they're wicked and corrupt, like the ones Frank sang about, they're horrible.
Right. I think it's easy to discern the ones he was talking about.
Yes, and the music industry, I mean...
Yeah, I mean,
the AFM banned the Kinks because they couldn't ban the Beatles because they were stealing ticket dollars from American recording acts. So take every institution on a case-by-case basis is my
definitely
thing.
Especially unions.
Right.
There are some that are amazing and help lots of people get benefits and treated with respect and dignity that all people deserve.
And a good buddy of ours is a Teamster. We've got good pals in the Wobblies.
But I think, Frank's singing about the ones that are really like basically scams.
Fuck the AFM. They're con artists.
So I think it's a funny song if you are able to look at it through the lens of like
Hi and Howdy Doody.
Right, Hi and Howdy Doody.
He's so you can just picture the guy too, so dorky.
I can't.
Hi and Howdy Doody.
I've been laughing
Rudy.
I've been laughing and singing this song all evening and driving Alex crazy. But I love this song because
joke's on her. I actually love the song.
It's so funny. I don't know if you like my rendition of it.
If anything, it's just weird to hear you sing this song that I've known so long.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's funny. It also modulates a bit too. So you get the hi and howdy doody.
Yeah.
And you boys know we care so much. All of these talking points about we're here to protect you. But that's why we carry a gun. Make sure you're paid up on your cards, fellas.
Yeah.
Don't make me have to whip it out. I mean, there's a lot of implications with that as well. Frank was not a fan of the music industry. He loved the music part of it. He hated the industry part of it. That's, I guess, the short of it.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about it?
No, I just love that song.
It is such a good one.
Yeah.
Then we get the closer.
The best track on the album.
Not just the best track on the album. This is one of Frank's best songs. And I mean, like, this is Frank Zappa for people who can't fucking stand the guy.
Yeah.
I
love this song so much.
And it's not even a hit. It's a deep cut.
Yeah.
It's the closing track on an album it's not popular.
I love that it's a love song.
Yeah. He didn't do love songs often.
Yeah.
And when he did, he often was poking fun of them. Like,
right.
Fountain of Love.
But this one is sincere. And I just love that it's kind of like this yearning song almost. This like, either I'm crying for my girlfriend. I don't know where she is.
10 long years I've been loving her. Now she's gone.
It's honest. I like it. The vocals are beautiful on this song. I love that he decided to close the album with it. I think that's a really cool choice.
So one talking point I'd like to raise about Frank is he mocked the idea of having no commercial potential. Nullus pretty, as he says it in the Freakout sleeve.
What does that actually translate to? Latin.
It's mock Latin.
You took so much Latin. Make it up.
Oh, it means not beautiful.
Oh, okay.
So I also challenge that notion that Frank was intentionally uncommercial, no commercial potential, as a means of generating commercial potential. And much like other songwriters of his caliber, Ray Davies is one, Lou Reed is another.
Right.
When they wanted a hit, they could conjure it up like that.
That's so cool.
Like Ray Davies pulled Lola out of his butt. Frank, same thing with some of his tracks were accidental hits, but then like Dancing Fool was meant to be a hit, and it was a hit.
The funny thing is about that, and I don't know if he ever like researched this or looked into the science of it, but I've read several articles over the last 5 to 10 years that have talked about like the science behind hit music.
Oh. And
how there's like formulas that the people that make like the biggest hits of the last, 20 years
baby,
or so.
baby, oh.
Oh my God, I'm dying. Yes, but songs like that. And like
right, the so-called sensitive female chord progression.
Yeah, like every Adele song. And I love Adele. I think she has one of the most beautiful voices that's in pop music today. But there's articles about how like there's basically a formula for chord progressions and like musical structures and melody about how to like make people feel a certain way and like make a hit song based on this foolproof formula.
If I may interject before my head explodes.
Go for it.
Frank talked about learning music and music theory, and he talks about it in his book as being like learning paint by numbers.
Yes.
What you're describing there, those are the very rules he intentionally set out to break, and those were also the rules he knew to follow to whip out a hit.
Exactly. So I'm sure when he was like, okay, guys, like let's, time, not that he ever felt like, pressured to make a hit, I don't think. Mm-hmm. But when he, excuse me, fizzy water. But when
brought to you by Trader Joe's.
And my stomach. Like he never like felt pressure to make a hit. But when he decided that he wanted to make a song like that, he had enough music theory knowledge to just like crank it out.
Yes, and I would also say that him adding the Turtles, who had visible commercial potential,
right?
There was some intentionality there to attract newer audience members, younger audience members, mm-hmm. And there is something a little interesting. Strictly from commercial, yes. And there is something to be said about how he lured in that audience population to then hear all those songs about blowjobs and having number 1 hits with a bullet and magic fingers and
I agree.
All that stuff.
That's pretty cool.
And then to make a movie with Ringo Starr in it. Might as well have had the Pope in it.
All of my favorite movies have Ringo Starr in them.
What's up with that?
I don't know.
So yeah, I think this was Frank making some inroads for commercial potential. I think if Charlena had been a single, it would have been a runaway hit for Frank.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I can't believe it wasn't. I can't believe like nobody did to it what someone eventually did with Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, where they were just like, this is cool, and they made it a single.
Yeah, they played at the grocery store at like 10:30 at night.
Charlena?
Yeah, if it were his like runaway hit, they would definitely.
It would be what we heard at like Fred Meyer or something.
It would be on the rotation at the grocery store. Yeah, like late at night though.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
So in some parallel universe, you'll hear LOLA Lola on the radio. God, I love that song.
Me too.
And then right after, as it fades out, Charlena comes on. Back-to-back hits from 1970.
Yeah.
Yes, Ringo says was tasked with. He made me do it. He's such a creep.
Made me do it.
Speaking of consent, parting thoughts on Chunga's Revenge. I've got a few things.
You've got a few things. I'll be brief. Such a good album. It's like touches on lots of good, fun parts of music that make music great. I know that sounds very basic and elementary, but like.
You're right, though.
It's just
there's a lot of different sounds.
There's a lot of different sounds. He brings them together in the best way.
Mm-hmm. You don't get too much of any one thing either,
which is something that I like,
right?
Personally,
I would say if I had any one criticism of Frank, it is his tendency towards what's called maximalism,
mm-hmm.
and that's the idea of having 3 epic guitar tracks on one record.
Right, which they're all masterfully done. But
mm-hmm.
this album, its success is owed to, the fact that it is varied. It has a sincere love song. It has a couple of tracks that make you laugh.
It has a mock love song. It has It has Would You Go All the Way? And then 10 minutes later, you're listening to Charlena. And
you do still have the killer instrumental tracks in the middle. Like it's just a really well-constructed album.
I also think this is one of my favorite Frank Zappa albums. In terms of his whole catalog, it's lesser known. It's sort of like second string. I would say, especially behind what was about to come. Like I think Fillmore East is celebrated more, even though I'm not a fan of that album at all. But I think it also just gets lost in the shuffle. You have the end of the original Mothers, much beloved as they are, and I really enjoy them too. Plus, Hot Rats is such a wonderful album.
Yeah.
But I really like the musical palette with which he is painting, and you almost can sort of get that vibe from the album art.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a bit of the old synesthesia, but I think the colors depicted on the sleeve suit the record quite well.
I agree with that. Definitely.
What else can I say about it? As a Frank Zappa solo album without the Mothers, I think it sets the precedent for what would come in the 70s. You get sort of sneak previews of what would be his signature moves on his traditional rock records. Was there more to say about that? Oh, there was a really nice comment about Frank's politics and unions. Yeah, so Frank and his politics, he was libertarian. So that means you can ask him 20 different questions and not exactly get an answer that's consistent against any rubric other than the guy just did not want to pay taxes.
Right.
And hey, we're down with that too. We're just not libertarians. But you know what? Nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Anything else before we wrap? I'm
excited for more Zappadan.
Me too.
I think it's pretty obvious this is a beloved album of mine in our household. I think we'll talk more about Frank and his politics when we cover Broadway the Hard Way, which is definitely on the list. Not for tomorrow, though. We got something else in mind. Cool. All right. That ends it for night 9 of the Zappadan. This actually carried us over into day 10. I know. I just realized that it's 12:15 on the West Coast. Well, Zappadan being the holiday of its caliber, every day starts at sundown. It's Festivus for the rest of us. Yeah. Cool. Have a good night, everybody. Have a great night. We'll catch you tomorrow.